Apple just had their biggest event of the year where they announced 4 new iPhone 14s. Starting off with the standard models, where the biggest visual difference this year is in the fact that there's no longer a mini version, and instead Apple went with a standard 6.1-inch iPhone 14 and a new 6.7-inch iPhone 14 Plus. Now, outside of the bigger screen and the larger battery, which by the way Apple says gives the iPhone 14 Plus the best battery life on any iPhone, the two phones are otherwise identical. And the biggest upgrade to them, of course, is in their camera systems, where their new 12-megapixel main camera comes with a larger sensor, larger pixels, and a faster aperture, resulting in what Apple is claiming to be a 49% improvement in low light. And when it comes to photos exclusively, the new photonic engine takes computational photography even further, with Apple claiming 2.5 times better low light from the main camera and 2 times better low light from the ultra-wide, which combined with the new brighter flash, the iPhone 14 is just going to have better low light all around. And that carries over to the selfie camera, where the new 12-megapixel camera has 38% better low light gathering, meaning photos and videos and like FaceTime calls will look better when you're in dimmer situations. And for photos specifically, the photonic engine kicks in again, with Apple also claiming a 2x improvement for low light selfies. The selfie camera also has autofocus now, meaning your images will look sharper even when you're further away for things like group shots. Now, in terms of camera features, well, cinematic mode can now record in 4K, whereas before it was limited to just 1080p. And there's also a new action mode where you can capture super smooth videos even when your hands are shaky. Like they showed people running around getting smooth video, although there is a lot of cropping going on to make it happen. But enough about the cameras. Let's talk about the other improvements, which honestly is a pretty short list. There's a new emergency SOS feature where if you ever find yourself stranded with no cell service, the iPhone 14 now lets you contact emergency services using satellite. Apple actually had to build a custom app in order to get this to work without a big old antenna on the phone, where it lets you know where to point the phone in order to connect to a satellite. And while it's limited to just messages and location, it's enough to get the message out and even update your location in Find My. Another safety feature they added is called crash detection, where using the multiple sensors in the phone, if a car crash is ever detected, the phone can automatically notify emergency services and contacts, which, is pretty cool. These safety features are hopefully things that you'll never have to use, but there is something nice about knowing that you have them in case you ever need them. Outside of that, I guess the only other thing that's new with the iPhone 14 is there's no longer a SIM slot, with it only working with eSIMs now. So it's definitely not the biggest upgrade. In fact, they're not even using a new chip under the hood, with it being the same A15 Bionic chip used in last year's iPhone 13 Pro. The iPhone 14 comes in 5 new colors in Midnight, Starlight, a new shade of blue, purple, and product red, and pricing starts at $799 for the standard iPhone 14 and $100 more for the bigger iPhone 14 Plus. Pre-orders open this Friday with availability on September 16th. Okay, but now it's time to move on to the Pro models, which, unlike the standard ones, actually got a pretty significant upgrade. For one, the iPhone 14 Pro and the 14 Pro Max look different, at least from the front, with thinner borders around the screen and this new cutout area instead of using a notch. Apple is calling this area the dynamic island, since instead of just being a black blob that's in the way, it's actually integrated deep into the UI, with the area expanding when you get new notifications, showing you album art and music is playing in the background, and it even works with things like iOS 16's live activities. So it's actually a really smart implementation, with the bonus of taking up 30% less area than the notch did, thanks to the proximity sensor now being behind the screen itself. But beyond just the new look of it, the display is also significantly brighter, with a peak brightness of 2000 nits. And the Pro models also get a feature that we've seen Android phones have for years now in the always-on display, where when you lock the iPhone screen, instead of going just completely black, it can now go super dim, allowing you to check things like the time and minutes notifications without having to physically turn the screen on every time. Moving on though, we've got to talk about the cameras, with the iPhone 14 Pro's main camera being upgraded to a 48-megapixel sensor. This is the biggest upgrade in resolution ever to the iPhone, and while for the most part you won't be taking advantage of all that resolution since it does spin down the image to 12 megapixels for better low-light performance, if you want it, you can take 48 megapixel stills if you use Apple's ProRAW feature. But I think think the coolest thing about having such a high resolution sensor is Apple is able to bring back that popular 2x zoom option, with it just cropping in on the center of the sensor without losing any image quality. Of course, you're still getting that dedicated ultra-wide lens and that 3x telephoto lens, and just like on the standard iPhone 14, all of these cameras, including the selfie, are seeing significantly better low-light photos. It's a full 3 times better on the ultra-wide camera, 2 times better on that main camera, and 2 times better on the telephoto camera thanks to the iPhone 14's new photonic engine. On top of that, the Pro models also get a more advanced True Tone flash with 9 LEDs that adjust in pattern and intensity based off of your focal length. And in terms of video, while you get the same updated cinematic mode and action modes as on the standard iPhone 14s, only the Pro models get the second generation of Apple's sensor shift tech, where the sensor inside of the phone physically moves to adjust for shaky hands. And of course, unlike the standard iPhone 14s, the 14 Pros get a new A16 Bionic chip to help power it all. Outside of that though, you get the same SOS via satellite and crash detection features as on the standard models, you get the same new selfie camera, and no, there isn't a SIM card slot on the Pro models either. The iPhone 14 Pros come in 4 different colors in space black, silver, gold, and this sweet looking deep purple, with the pricing actually remaining the same, starting at $999 for the iPhone 14 Pro and $1099 for the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Pre-orders open on Friday, with availability on September 16th.